Welcome back to All Things Mysterious, where we talk about true crime, supernatural, and all things mysterious. I'm Matt.
And I'm Jordan.
Thank you for listening. Jordan, what do I absolutely love more than anything?
Making me angry.
Yep. And today's going to be one of those days where I'm finally going to get back at you for all the times you make me mad.
I thought you did that on the Mandela Effect episode.
Oh, I really did. But this is like the icing on the cake here.
Why?
Because it is glorious.
Why? Why do you do this to me?
How do you feel about vigilante justice?
Yeah, it's just kind of a trick question because, like, I really like superheroes. We've all known about my Mandela Effect episode, or not? Yeah, because, like, I mean, Thor, but also at the same time, the justice system is there for a reason, you know. But Thor.
So, what if I told you by the end of this story, you will 100% be for vigilante justice, at least in this case?
We all know whatever I say, you're just going to tell me something otherwise. I'm going to feel whatever you don't want me to feel. So it's whatever. I've learned your ways, Matthew.
Today, we're going to talk about a true Chester.
Is his name Chester?
No.
Oh, well, that's disappointing.
But he is Chester in his heart.
I'll accept it this one time.
Today, we're going to talk about Ken Rex McElroy. Have you ever heard of him? Good. I'll tell you all about him.
Matthew.
So imagine this. It's July 10th, 1981.
Ooh, back in the 80s. All right.
In a place not too far from here. By not too far, it's in Missouri.
That could be so far. But okay.
Skidmore, Missouri, to be exact.
Where is that?
Over Kansas City-ish kind of area.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not that far. It's kind of localish. Anyways,
there's 434 residents that lived there at the time. And Ken was killed in broad daylight with as many as 60 witnesses. And the case is still unsolved.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Intrigued?
I am.
I knew you would be. So before we go on to the meat of the pie here, I don't know if that's how you say it.
Close enough. I kind of like it. So you know what? I'll take it.
Let's get into a little background of Ken. Now, Ken was born June 1st, 1934. He was born into a poor family. Obviously, the 30s, pretty much everybody was.
Yeah, wasn't that like the Great Depression?
It was right around that time.
Okay, that's fair. I'm not great at history, so.
Yeah, so he dropped out of school in the 8th grade. And he was thought to be mostly illiterate till the date of his death. So, not the smartest guy, but I would argue that he was actually pretty smart because he got away with a lot of stuff. And we'll get into that here shortly, but stop trying to push me ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, very much pushing. I am pushing a lot, as you can tell.
So the start, up until this point, Ken was a mostly normal person, normal kid. Nothing really super obvious that he was going to be a horrible person. Now at 18, he was seriously injured when a steel slab fell on him at a construction site.
Okay.
It left him in severe pain and a possible head injury. Now, some have used that as to try to explain the behavior, that maybe the head injury was what caused his violent behavior.
I mean, it's possible because I know that like traumatic brain injuries can definitely change your behaviors.
Yeah, it is. And I'm kind of on the fence because I don't want to
give him any
outs or anything or excuses for his actions. Because as you'll see, like, you will grow to hate this guy pretty soon. Trust me.
I believe you. You called him a Chester, so that's That's plenty enough for me.
I think, honestly, the Chester isn't even a strong enough word for him.
Wow, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
So he was a large man, pretty tall, and 270 pounds.
Yeah, that is a large man.
And the most important thing to him was he wanted to be important and feared. And he was.
That's always goals.
Yeah.
That's my goals. For sure. I would like to be important and feared.
Well, you are neither.
Thank you for that. Thanks, Matt. I would at least like to be important. Jesus Christ. Maybe not feared, but
you walked right into that. Sorry.
Screw off. I hate you so much.
So now we're going to get into how he made his income, how he made a living.
Okie dokie. I have a feeling it's not going to be great, but okay.
Some of it wasn't too bad. So he would lease land near his farm. He owned a bunch of land and he would lease a lot of it.
Well, that makes sense. It's not that bad.
Not that bad. He would also raise dogs and sell the dogs.
Like
and even trade them from time to time for different stuff that he needed. So far, pretty decent.
Yeah, it's not bad. So far. Matt's making a face.
That's where it ends. Because he also got his income from stealing livestock, grain, alcohol, gasoline, and antiques. So
Good.
he was most of his income was from theft.
Excellent. Real go-getter, that one.
Yeah. So now let's talk about his relationships, because this is where you're really going to get angry.
Oh, goody. I'm prepared. I'm so prepared. Be angry. I'm
just going to say this. His preferred girls were age 13 and 14.
I'm sorry. Hold up. What? No.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not a preference.
There's
that's not
more.
A preference. Excuse me?
He raped at least 2 girls, age 12.
That is pedophilia.
Mm-hmm.
That's not.
So his third wife, Trina McLeod, was one of the girls that he raped.
Wife?
Yes, because at age 14, he married her so she couldn't testify against him.
Oh my God.
Oh, there's more.
Okay. Yeah, he is a Chester. I'm going to just, we're not even fully into it. I can see by Matt's face, but
So in order
Chester status, fully.
In order to get married, he had to get her parents' blessing and permission, basically. They would not give their permission.
Rightfully freaking so.
So how do you think he got their permission?
It's not going to be good. It's really not going to be good.
He decided the best course of action was to burn down their house and shoot their dog.
I'm sorry. What the fuck?
Oh,
I mean,
there's more.
There's more.
So, later on, she got pregnant about age 14 with their child.
That is, there aren't words.
Oh, it gets worse.
It gets worse.
So she soon tried to leave him with their child.
Good for her.
She went to their parents' house, and he responded by burning down their house again and shooting their dog again.
Good. What the shit?
I mean,
freaking psychopath.
I guess at least he's consistent.
Jesus H. Christ.
I mean, I think you would change it up a little bit, or
no, he's very consistent in his methodology of torture.
I mean, I get it worked the first time, so because eventually, when he did it the first time, they eventually relented and gave their permission. So, and it worked again because she went back to him.
She was 14 years old. Oh my God.
So she is very much a victim in this, obviously.
Yeah, she's a child.
But she defended him quite often.
Well, she was probably freaking brainwashed.
And after she was killed, she was interviewed by People magazine. And she went on to say that the house fires were just from faulty wire.
No, but okay.
Yeah. So Ken was accused of abusing his first two wives, Sharon and Alice. Alice and Trina would later claim that Ken treated them very well and there was no abuse. Mm-hmm. And Alice would, along with Trina, would go on to defend Ken very much so after his death. Mm-hmm. Trina claimed that the police harassed him because they were scared of him and because he wouldn't bow down to him.
What in the ever?
And he was a good guy.
No, he burnt down a freaking child's house so that he could marry her, and he killed their dog twice. Who freaking kills the dog too?
Don't ask me, because we're not even out of the horrible section yet.
I had a feeling.
We're going to go deeper into the horrible section.
Excellent. Love it.
But before we do that, it's important to know that, Trina said the police harassed him, right?
I'm sure they probably did.
But in truth, the police were scared of Ken.
Rightfully so, it seems.
Yeah, because he was always heavily armed, and he was not afraid to shoot at the police.
I mean, the man seems a little bit cray-cray, so
yeah.
Seemed. He died. Good. Not sorry for that.
So he was indicted 21 times in his life.
21.
He was only convicted once.
What kind of witchcraft?
So there's many reasons, and we're going to get into them, because the first one is he had a damn good lawyer. His lawyer, Richard Gene McFadden, he was based out of Kansas City, and he allegedly represented the mob. And Ken would go around, bragging about that all the time.
I mean, to be entirely fair, that's about the only way that I could see him getting out of this. So I can't say that allegedly that's false.
He was
because
good.
That's about the only way that I can see him getting out of that many charges.
He was good at keeping him out of jail.
Obviously, with 21 charges.
He estimated that Ken was charged with at least 3 crimes a year.
Yeah.
And every single one. Now, it's important to note here that it wasn't just his lawyer, because there was other ways that he kept himself out of jail.
I'm sorry, what?
He was very fond of witness intimidation.
Oh, I love this guy so much more now. Great.
Anytime someone was going to testify against him, he would follow them constantly, park outside their homes, and just constantly do that until they agreed not to testify.
Solid guy.
Yeah.
Real solid guy.
So some of the crimes he was, accused of and charged with were robbery, harassment, assault on women, destroying property,
Jesus,
death threats, assault, including shooting at least 2 people.
Oh my God.
One of them was, his name was Romaine Henry. He was a local farmer. And Henry, Ken came onto Henry's property, so Henry tried to get him off his property, right?
Fair.
Reasonable thing to do. Didn't have a gun, just was trying to, get him off the property.
Yeah, right. Just get the heck off. Leave.
Ken responded by shooting him in the stomach.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's what a sane person would obviously do.
So as much as you love this guy already, it's going to get worse. Because we're kind of getting to the climax of his story, as you will. Because we're going to talk about on April 25th, 1980. Now, on that day, we're going to meet Ernest Bo Bowenkamp. He was the owner of a general store. They're in Skidmore.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about an incident that honestly didn't even involve him. It was just his store. So his store clerk, Evelyn Sumi, was on shift. Ken's 8-year-old daughter, Tanya, was there. I believe she was there with her mom. Ken wasn't here at the time. Now, Tanya decided to take a piece of candy and not pay for it. Evelyn saw this and asked the girl to give the candy back. You know, that's it. Just asked her to give the candy back.
Reasonable request.
So, as a stable, sane person, how do you think Ken responded to this?
Probably shot him or something.
Well, when Ken learned of this incident, he began stalking the Bowencat family.
Oh, we're stalking. Yep, that's sane.
And on July 8th, 1980, Ken drove to the alley behind the general store. He again threatened Bo Bowenkamp and shot him in the neck, close range with a shotgun.
Again, sane. Super, super sane. So sane.
Now, here is the miraculous part. Bo survived.
Oh, wow. That is impressive.
Close range with a shotgun, and he survived the neck.
That's honestly, that's a miracle.
Yeah. So Ken
especially
was
with medical care
arrested.
back then.
Yeah. Ken was immediately arrested for attempted murder. The preliminary trial was set for August 18th, 1980. Now, he had his great lawyer, but he didn't want to just settle for, letting his lawyer get him off of this one.
Oh, God. This ought to be great.
So when he was out on bail, he tried to intimidate the Bowencat family to prevent them from testifying. He would sit outside their house for hours and even sometimes fire his gun. His wife had said that it was a pure nightmare. You didn't know what he was going to do.
Jesus.
The law wouldn't stop him. And she said, I don't know if we're going to survive. I didn't know from day to day if he was just going to finally kill us.
God, yeah. Imagine living in that state. Literally just imagine living every single day, having no idea if you are going to just be shot and killed. The level of sheer terror and anxiety that you would feel. Oh my God.
Yeah. I can't even imagine.
Especially with your family, no. Wow. And the rage from that. Personally, I would be terrified, but I also would be ready to explode.
Yeah, it's this whole thing is just you can kind of start to build the picture of why this town may have, decided to take justice into their own hands.
Yeah, absolutely, I can.
So the trial was delayed for about 5 months, give or take, due to legal maneuvers by the lawyer.
Right.
So on July 20, it was delayed to July 25th, 1981. And during this, time, the acting prosecuting attorney resigns. Just decided to quit.
Sounds a little fishy to me.
Yeah. So David Baird is hired as the new prosecuting attorney. He was 3 years out of law school at this point.
That's sketch.
But he did the one thing that no one else could do.
Really?
He got a conviction.
Ooh, I like it.
Hold on.
Oh,
you're not going to like it.
Oh, no. I'm not going to like it?
So,
okay.
Obviously, Ken was suspected of making the previous prosecutor quit by the intimidating him.
Oh,
Same
yeah,
thing.
For sure.
They never proved that, but he kind of, it was heavily implied. So he was convicted, but he was only convicted of second-degree assault instead of attempted murder.
Great.
So now Bayer did this for specific reason, because he knew that it would be easier to get the conviction for the second degree assault instead of the attempted murder.
Better than nothing.
Yeah. So
at least got something to stick, which, as much as I hate, is something at least out of 21. What was the word?
21 convictions.
Yeah, 21 convictions. At least something. Not 21 charges.
21 indictments.
Indictments. Thank you. Something finally freaking stuck. Or at least started to stick.
Yeah. It just... So the jury did set the maximum sentence. Give him the maximum sentence for this. But Excellent. It was only 2 years.
Really?
Yeah. That was the maximum that I could do for that charge. But it was still time. So now this judge in this case did something that I will never understand to this day. So obviously he appealed the decision.
Of course he did.
And the judge freed him on $40,000 bond pending appeal.
But why though?
To this day, I don't know, but Ken was convinced that he would win an appeal. Of
course Ken was. He had that super crazy mob lawyer person.
Yeah. He basically said, I may have been convicted of this, but we're going to go through appeal and they're going to toss it out. I'm not going to spend a day in jail.
Great.
And to his credit, he was right.
Of course.
Not the way that he thought, but he was right. So soon after his release on, bail, mind you, he was at the D&G Tavern in Skidmore. He decided to make graphic threats about murder and Bo while he had a rifle with a bayonet on it. And by graphic threats, I mean he was
graphic.
Yeah, he was telling everybody exactly how he was going to murder Bo.
Good. Healthy. Super healthy.
He was immediately arrested, but then released on bail again. The court was postponed to July 20th, 1981, because he violated bail provisions. How he got released, I have no idea. That's one thing that is, this whole case is just frustrating because the legal system dropped the ball
a little bit.
So much.
Just a ton.
All I can say is I wish, this lawyer might have done good defending O.J. Simpson, because he was apparently that good.
Obviously.
So now let's fast forward to July 10th, 1981. 10 days before he was supposed to go back to court to find out if his conviction was going to be overturned.
10 days?
10 days.
10 days.
The town decided to have a town hall next to the tavern. It was like a Legion Hall.
Meeting.
Basically, yeah. There was at least 60 residents that attended, including the mayor and sheriff. Their purpose was to discuss what they could do to legally protect themselves from Ken. Now, Sheriff Dan Estes, he really, truly did his best. His hands were tied for much of this, but he was one of the ones that arrested Ken the most.
Oh, bravo, Sheriff.
But he also so his idea was for them to form a neighborhood watch.
Really?
Yeah. He encouraged them to basically try to avoid Ken as much as possible and, not to confront him because he didn't want things to get worse.
Well, I mean, definitely confronting him would for sure make it worse.
And then the sheriff left town after the meeting, which kind of funny. I'm pretty sure she left to kind of keep his hands out of it.
Probably.
Because Ken and Trina were spotted headed to the tavern, D&G Tavern. And that's when the residents decided to take justice into their own hands. They went over to the tavern. Trina and Ken were in the bar drinking. As soon as they came out, there was about 60 plus residents surrounding his truck.
Ooh.
Some went into the bar to kind of watch him. They both get into the truck. And at that moment, before they take off, 2 gunshots ring out.
Ooh.
And by 2, I mean actually multiple, but from 2 different guns. Now, Jack Clement, he was one of the witnesses. He actually got Trina out of the truck. Because Trina
kind of... Good on them for watching out for her.
Yeah, Trina kind of, as soon as the shots were fired, she kind of jumped out of the truck, trying to take cover. Jack Clement picked her up and got her out of the way. So they did care about Trina, and they didn't want her hurt. After the gunfire stopped, Ken was dead at age 47. And not one person tried calling an ambulance.
Darn the luck. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
But darn the luck.
So obviously the cops were called. They interviewed everybody. There were 60 people who saw this. Not one person gave up any names, except for one person.
One person gave up a name?
Trina. She says she saw Del Clement fire the shots that killed Ken. Now, Del was the co-owner of the tavern. But obviously there was multiple shooters because there was 2 guns used. But he was never charged. They had a grand jury. They had a medical examiner's inquiry. There was never enough evidence to, charge him because there was only one witness. And you got one person saying it was him, and then 60 other people saying, no, it wasn't him. We didn't see him shoot anybody.
Oh, that's great.
So Del died in 2009, and he always denied being the shooter. So we don't know for sure who it was. We know that there was 2 shooters. We just don't know which 2. And the town, for what it's worth, never once said anything. I mean, for 60 plus people to keep a secret that long.
That is phenomenal.
And even to this day, I mean, this happened back in 1981. To this day, not one person has ever said who actually fired the shots.
That is awesome.
It really is. Now, following his death, the town experienced a mix of relief and uncertainty. Obviously, there was an investigation. Sheriff Estes, knew what Ken was like, but he still had to investigate the case.
Yeah.
And he tried his hardest to find a suspect. I mean, he had a job to do. It wasn't the job he wanted to do, but it was the job that he was paid to do.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. If you're a sheriff, that's what you have to do, which sucks because, it's literally what you have to do.
And that's why, honestly, a lot of people were bashing the sheriff for doing his job because they said, well, it seemed like he let, Ken do whatever he wanted and get away with whatever he wanted.
Yeah, but how many times did he also arrest him at the same time? Like,
exactly.
It wasn't like he just let this dude slip around and slide and do whatever he wanted. He arrested him. I don't know how many of those 21 times.
I don't know, but he arrested him quite often.
Obviously, the dude was doing his best. He just couldn't get anything to stick.
Yeah. I mean, and he would do his best, and then it seemed like in a lot of these, the courts would be the where
exactly. It wasn't the sheriff, it was the courts.
But he still got a brunt of it because he was kind of the face of it. And
yeah, that tracks.
In people's minds, he was basically allowing this monster to terrorize them for, all these years. And then when he gets killed, instead of turning a blind eye, that he instantly starts investigating it, which again,
I mean, it's a legal thing. Like, you freaking have to.
Yeah, he can't pick and choose which crimes to, investigate. And honestly, that's why I think he is a good person, because he did not he actually tried to solve this case.
I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know if I could have done it. Like, that's one of the reasons I probably could not work in law enforcement. Like, if somebody like that was murdered, I probably would not have done a great job on it. I would have been like, oh, I looked at the evidence. Can't find it, darn.
Yeah. And I mean,
but that's why I'm not in law enforcement,
exactly.
you guys. Like, that's why. Darn it. Can't figure it out. Case closed. It was like.
So McElroy was buried in St. Joseph, Missouri, which makes me believe that Skidmore, which I didn't actually look at this, but I'm pretty sure Skidmore is probably somewhere up in the St. Joseph area.
Oh, so you misled me. Great job.
It's Kansas City, St. Joe area. Same thing.
It's way further up, but okie dokie.
But anyways, after his death, his wife, Trina, who, mind you, was the one that he raped at 12, married at 14, had a kid with shortly after.
That poor kid, though. Like, she went through so much. Like, 2 house fires. Both of her dogs were shot. Like, she went through so freaking much.
And
at such a freaking young, influential, tough age. Like,
and that's the other thing is that a lot of people are bashing Trina and even his other 2 ex-wives for kind of defending them. But I mean, you got to understand, 2 of his ex-wives he raped as children.
Yeah, like, that's not something that you mentally get over, I wouldn't think.
And
not easily anyway.
By the way, there's questions about the legality of the marriage, because some of them overlapped.
Yeah, that's probably not legal.
Where he was married with one wife and didn't married the other one and then got a divorce from the first one.
Yeah, so that's probably not legal.
But for some reason, they never actually pursued that. I don't. There was this, and it could just be after the fact speculation, and I don't know. But I don't know if any of this, obviously, she was 12, so there was a lot more going on than if the marriage was legal or not, because
I have no idea. But still, that's just horrible.
And it's this was back in the 70s, I think.
I think had to have been before, because it was.
He died in 81, and I think she was 20 something when he died. So I think.
Oh, mathematics.
Yeah. Anyways, it wasn't like it was back in the 40s or something. When, as gross as it is, that would be more acceptable back then.
Unfortunately, disgustingly common.
Yeah. So, obviously 70s, 80s, well, probably 70s, late 60s, maybe. And I didn't get the dates on when that actually happened, because I did not want to look too much into that.
Can't blame you.
Honest.
Can't.
I honestly feel like I'm going to take a shower after this case.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I feel skeevy.
Yeah. So Trina filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the town of Skidmore, county of Nodaway, which is where the city's located, and Sheriff John Estes and others, including Dell. And I think she even named some of the witnesses who just didn't say anything.
Stood there and
And I believe she actually included Jack Clement in the lawsuit.
Oh, well.
The one who saved her and made sure that she was okay. He gets, basically.
Trauma will do something to you, man.
And
so I'm told.
I keep having to tell myself that, she was a victim too and all this. But it's hard when some of the stuff she did.
Yeah. It is.
But so, and this is kind of makes me a little bit happy because they ended up settling out of court with her. They gave her $17,600, which back then was quite a bit.
Yeah, back then that was a lot of money.
And honestly, like I said, she was a victim, so I think she got what she deserved. I think she probably should have got a lot more for what she went through, but
she went through a lot. Now, granted, her actions are all sorts of twisted, but she went through so much trauma. yeah, her actions are screwed up, but her brain's got to be so twisted in there from what he did and what he had to have brainwashed into her.
I know.
He spent so many years twisting her brain to believe all the things that he probably believed, and then he probably twisted it even further into all sorts of things that we don't even know.
Yeah. And then obviously there was, people accused him of abusing her, and there was,
he probably did worse than what was already there.
And that's what like her parents said was, the reason that she left him the first time was because she was abusing him.
Probably. Or he was abusing her.
Yeah. She was, or he was abusing her. Sorry. And that's why she left him. And, I don't think she would say that he was abusing her just to leave her. I think obviously that's probably accurate. And I also know that, especially unfortunately in, relationships of abuse, they tend to go back.
Yeah.
And obviously once you burn down, once the guy burns down her house and kills her dog.
Yeah.
Again,
I mean, where are you supposed to go? And that's terrifying because like, what else is going to happen? What else is he going to do? Who else is he going to hurt if I leave again? Because he has that crazy amount of control. Like, I mean, as a woman, I can see how that would be terrifying because like especially back then, like at that age, where are you going to go? What are you going to do? Who else is he going to hurt? Is he going to kill my parents? Is he going to kill my family? Who else is he going to kill on my behalf? If I leave, is he going to kill me?
Yeah. I mean, it's just, she had a daughter at 14 with a guy who was...
Yeah, and like, what if he was hurting her?
Yeah, I mean...
daughter, like...
I will say, as sick as it is, from all evidence, he was actually a relatively good father to his daughter.
That's terrifying.
Which is kind of...
It's good, but that's terrifying.
I mean...
Strangely, a relief.
Yeah. I can't believe I'm actually going to do this, but, a lot of what he did was for his daughter. So...
something had to have gone right somewhere in there.
And in no way, shape, or form am I excusing any of his other actions.
Or defending
he was
him.
A piece of crap. I am not sad that he died. I'm usually the one that kind of the voice of reason and stuff like this.
This is fair. You're usually finding ways to tear people down, but no, it's entirely fair. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's this whole situation, like the amount of abuse and fear that this town was living in. Because you had a man here who was seemingly above the law. Like no one could touch him.
Yeah.
And he knew that. And they knew that. I mean, what else are you going to do? It's like everyone's so surprised this happened, but like the town had no other option. Like the law wasn't going to help them.
And I mean...
It shocks me like that, the judges, prosecutors, even the cops were all surprised that this happened when, they literally had no other option.
No, they didn't.
I mean, they didn't know if they were going to survive. They didn't know, if he was just going to go berserk and kill everybody.
I mean, he might have. And at that point, the cops didn't have a whole lot of control over if he did or not.
Yeah, he nearly shot a guy's head off with a shotgun, point blank. And which still amazes me that he survived.
I know. That's crazy. Congrats to that guy, because dang.
But, I mean, this whole story just angers me.
Well, it does, but I can see the vigilante justice being great in this story because, like, am I for it? Not usually, because the justice system is there for a reason. Yeah. And in other cases we've gone over, it's either failed or it's just not set up correctly to win.
Yeah, and see, here's my problem with vigilante justice is you get, let's say, somebody gets accused of hurting a child.
Mm-hmm.
You take justice into your own hands and you kill that person.
Then
you find out that it was made up story. or it's fabricated. And that's the problem is like people are, especially these days, like, honestly, I don't trust anybody to do vigilante justice this day.
No. There's so many rumors and just random.
Yeah, you hear something on Facebook and you automatically take it as truth. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm more of a person who I want to know all the facts before I make a decision. And part of the way that I am, I like constantly try to disprove myself. Like, I'll, keep reading and learn, and I want to prove myself wrong.
Well, and you've even proved that in many of the episodes that we've done. It's like you're always trying to dig deeper, which is great because we don't want to judge if we don't have to judge. We want to always see both sides of things or all the sides of things because it's not always just two-sided. It can be quadruple-sided.
And, that's often why I will often take a adversary approach, approach with you is because, because there's always going to be that voice of doubt, the person who, and I don't want to just take something for granted saying, hey, this is how this stuff is. Cause I want to look at it and be like, this doesn't make sense. Or, this could be a possible explanation or,
But dear God, in this case, like what the heck else were they supposed to freaking do? He ran the whole freaking town until they were stuck.
Yeah, and
he stalked that family. Just sat and stalked them until they were basically going to die of anxiety themselves. Like,
oh yeah, and this is the part that literally gets me. Like, it's not just one or two people saying this.
The cops were basically scared of him.
There were hundreds of stories of this guy intimidating them. It was not something that was like just, one person said this and then everybody started spreading that rumor around,
Yeah, no, it's just story after story after story.
And what I'm presenting today is only like a tip of the iceberg. Like, you could literally go down a rabbit hole and see a whole bunch more stuff.
I believe that. Seems like a real gem.
Yeah, there's stuff that I did not feel comfortable putting on here.
That's fair.
And as you can see by what I did put on here, that's how bad it is. There was a lot of things that he was accused of.
Yep. Yeah, so I follow you.
We'll not go into that.
We'll not discuss those.
So
good on that.
There is a slight happy story because, Trina McElroy was,
sorry. Every time Matt stumbles over something, it makes me giggle.
So she later on, moved to Lebanon, Missouri, remarried, had a pretty normal life.
That's good. Good for her. Because she went through friggin' enough.
Yeah. She passed away in 2012.
Well, that sucks, but she went through enough.
Yeah. She did. And she would give interviews here and there.
Yeah.
Never stopped defending him, never stopped, trying to get justice. And so now here's where the shoe drops for me. Cause I think that the town did what they had to do.
I agree with you.
But at the same time, I think that they need justice. And I think the people who killed him need to turn themselves in.
I think it's been long enough, unless they're already passed.
Yeah.
Possible. Depends on who it was.
Yeah. And obviously the main suspect, Dell, had already passed in 2009.
Yeah. I feel like if it was people that have already passed, I feel like they can let that secret go now.
See, and I think they should have just turned themselves in right away because I think they would have went through court and they probably would have got off without even.
It's definitely possible with all the threats and everything else.
But for them to escape justice, they are doing exactly what he did.
You're not wrong.
And that's
sets an odd precedent.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part about this case for me is because on one hand, yes, I agree he should have been killed.
Yeah.
But on the other hand,
the exact same thing is happening with those two who are technically also murderers.
Yep. So it's just one of those cases that I don't think there's a right or wrong answer in it. But they did what they had to. So we'll just leave it at that. So the one thing that this did, the life and death of Ken Rex McElroy presents a complex narrative of crime, justice, and community dynamics. His notoriety as a town bully and the failure of the legal system to curb his criminal activities ultimately led to a dramatic and controversial resolution. The events surrounding McElroy's killing in Skidmore remain a testament to the complexities of justice, vigilantism, and the enduring impact of one man's tumultuous life on a small American town. And with that being said, thank you for listening. We truly, truly appreciate all your support. Like and subscribe our YouTube channel and wherever you listen to this podcast on. All links are in the description.
At the end of our episode or on any of our social medias, please let us know if you have any questions that you would ask for us. We would love to answer them or do any sort of Q&A. It would be absolutely awesome. And as always, we'll keep you guessing.